Commissioner Kabatoni,
Here.
and then Commissioner Marks,
I'm here.
and then Commissioner Marshall.
Present.
Thank you. And Commissioner Zavala.
Here.
Thank you. Okay, back to you, co-chair.
Thank you, Rose, for roll call. And we can move forward to number 3, which will be public comment at this time, if we have anyone from the public to make that comment. Okay, looks like we can move forward on to number 4, approval of minutes. A, approval of March 6, 2024 minutes.
I motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Kabatoni. Can we have a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Zavala. And we can now move forward to
I need a vote on that.
all in favor?
Say aye.
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 I need 2 more.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, we can proceed on to number 5, general business. A, update on Thorpe Park and the Indigenous Community Cultural Center, ICC. Pro staff will provide further update on the ICCC and the progress made in the past 30 days. Members of the ICF will be invited.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for allowing us this time. Can everyone hear me okay? I'm in an office space sharing it with Rose, so I want to make sure everyone can hear me. Thumbs up. Thumbs up, perfect. So a quick update with the Thorpe Park area, of which the future Indigenous Community Cultural Center resides. The perimeter fence has been removed. It looks amazing out there. Really opened up the entire park space and the surroundings around the future center. Next steps are we'll experience some really light grading activity. There's some loose pieces laying around, especially some from the winter expansion that occurs on the asphalt. So some chunks of asphalt. So we'll clean some of the additional perimeter up, including any no longer living shrubs, not dormant, but what we can confirm are no longer living. And then as the spring starts to continue to move forward for us, figure out if there are unfortunately any no longer living trees or shrubs that need to further be removed. A next step for Parks, Recreation, Open Space, and Events is to figure out the IT infrastructure. There's a large hub of an IT infrastructure for multiple city buildings inside the future Indigenous Community Cultural Center. So I'm working with our IT department here at the city of Flagstaff and potentially a consultant so we can get that relocated. The nearest building is this Flagstaff Sustainability Offices, which this IT infrastructure feeds, plus the fiber optic line goes across the Thorpe Park area over to the park shop off North Thorpe Road. So that is the next step that I'm going to start working on with some City of Flagstaff coworkers so that we can make sure that that infrastructure is now put into place correctly, and that would not impact the future Indigenous Community Cultural Center, but still have the needed infrastructure cabling, if you will, for that future internet service and any other IT needs. But again, relocate the city's structure on that. And after that, we will see what funds are left over this fiscal year that Parks, Recreation, Open Space and Events has for further mitigation and remediation on site. That total this year was $100,000, and we have expended roughly 21,000 of that, plus have some future invoices to receive from a plumbing contractor that has worked on site to ensure that all of the potable water and sewer service lines are intact and leak-free and functioning, not only for the future Indigenous Community Cultural Center, but also for the other city buildings and city infrastructure needs on site. So progress, it's moving forward, and we'll continue to move forward on some of those small steps. Any questions or anything from commissioners?
Amy, I have a question. This is Councilmember Matthews.
Sure.
So 200,000, 100,000 are baby steps.
Mhm.
And we had this discussion a little bit more extensively at the retreat last week. So in sending out, what is the term when you send out for somebody to have interest in renting the property? What is
A procurement process, which Councilmember Matthews might be a request for proposal or something similar.
So would we have to do all the refurbishing of the building before that's sent out?
Uncertain on that. Didn't meet briefly this past Monday afternoon with procurement team, and Rose was also in attendance. And so starting those conversations to figure out what needs to be done before the physical building itself can go through that procurement process and gain interested proposers on intended uses for the future community cultural center. And I have some additional meetings set up on that, Councilmember Matthews, to start again to continue just to dive into the details and figure out what needs to be done, because you are 100% correct. 100,000 this fiscal year and 200,000 next fiscal year. So starting July 1st for the city, that's not going to be enough to rehab that entire building. It's a large space, and some of the 75% of the building needs a lot of rehabilitation to make it habitable and usable, considering what the prior use was. So yeah, still working through some of those steps with procurement, and we'll continue to update Rose and this commission as those steps become known.
All right, because, we're getting to the exciting part of city budgeting over the next several weeks, and the next opportunity to talk about if the city is going to expense any of that. Now we're pushing out till next year. I have a rub against timing. Government timing is very slow. I did want to, though, mention as a sidebar that in the budget discussions last week, we did talk about doing something temporarily, like a big tent, like a circus tent, if you will, just to be able to start having activities there. The city manager was open to that. So I just wanted to put that bug in everybody's ear. But I would like to also be informed or have opportunities to be involved in those conversations. I don't want this to be a 10-year or 20-year project. I want to see us do something sooner as opposed to later. So if you can include me in that, Amy, I would appreciate it.
Absolutely, absolutely agree. And just for the Indigenous Commission's knowledge, and Councilmember Matthews, we didn't get a chance to talk about this last week because our capital retreat was focused on the next 5 years. But in Parks, Recreation, Open Space and Events 10-year plan, there are funds, which I believe would be 9 years from now, for this roughly 8.5 to 9 acres of Thorpe Park. And that's far out, as you just expressed. So finding something that works in between, I think is some of the initial ideas that we received last week. And I'm not aware of any meetings yet on that idea of a tent, but I do think they'll be forthcoming and can ensure that you're included on that.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions on the topic?
I don't see any other hands raised or anything, so Co-Chair Toya, you want to take the lead again? Oh, no, she left. Hold on. Okay, there she is. Commissioner Toya, are you back?
Yes, I am, and looks like everything's working. Thank you.
All right. So you're back on, it's on, there's no other questions, so go ahead and go on to the next item.
Okay, let me just pull up my agenda. Is that item number 5?
5B,
Yes, 5B. Thank you.
and that is a visitation to the Indigenous Community Cultural Center by the Indigenous Commissioners. So I know that there was maybe kind of like a time frame that that would work best with pros. So Amy, can you speak to that?
I can. I know we wanted to get past that, this minor construction piece of removing that perimeter fence. And since we are past that time, would love to figure out whether if it's a date to hold the Indigenous Commission on site, or if it would be best to schedule a different field trip, if you will, to the site so that everyone can go visit the site and experience some of the minor remediation efforts that have occurred. And happy to host either way, depending on what the commission would like to do.
Here, Libby, this is Rose. Here, I'd like to hear some information on commissioners. Do you want to hold maybe the next meeting or a meeting out at the Thorpe's, the parcel site where the ICCC is located? Or do you want to just to take a separate date and just meet there? What would be your preference? And if we can just get an idea of when that could be for everybody, that would be great.
This is Commissioner Toya. I'd like to share a thought. I feel that the next meeting would be, in my vision, appropriate for the commission to attend at the site, and also with the ICF members also joining the commission there. That way it gives a full, maybe a nice 30-day month notice to everyone, and invitations can go out appropriately. And also if we are okay with it, maybe some light snacks also can be donated or provided there, which would be the first week of May.
I'm looking forward to those Hopi cookies.
For sure. That's a definite guarantee we can have that there.
Yum. Any other thoughts? Is that a good idea for everybody, all the commissioners?
I like
Um,
it.
Okay, let
Yes.
me get at least Commissioner Cuddy-Eye, what do you think? Do you think do you agree with that idea?
Totally. Yes. And I like
Okay.
the snack ideas too.
Okay, Commissioner Curley?
Yes, good idea.
Okay, it'll be an on-site meeting, and Commissioner, let's see, Commissioner Kaibitoni,
Yes.
Commissioner Marks, Commissioner Marks,
Thank you. I'm good right now.
with that meeting on site?
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner Marshall?
I agree with that.
Okay, Commissioner Zavala?
I think that sounds great.
Thank you. And we'll work on the rest of the stuff. I'll send out some things for later so that you can see what will happen that day. Thank you so much. And thank you, Amy. Of course.
Thank you all. And one more thing I'd like to add on is that I have not gotten to meet some of the new commissioners. So I'd like to take advantage of this time also to meet some of our new members and welcome them to the commission.
Sounds great. Let's go ahead and do a quick introduction since we seem to be a little bit ahead of time.
Sure.
So if we can maybe go ahead and do just everybody, commissioners, starting with Commissioner Cuddy.
Can you repeat that again?
We're just doing quick introductions because there's a couple of like Commissioner Marshall, she hasn't met everybody yet. So we're just doing a little bit of introductions for her and for Vaughn.
Or for Vaughn, Vaughn knows me. No. Oh, yeah. Hi, everybody. My name is Diana Kariai. I am semi-retired from the dental profession with the University of Colorado in Denver or Aurora. And I've lived in Flag over 20 years, originally from the Four Corners area. So that's it.
Commissioner Curley?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Linda Curley. I work part-time for Supervisor Judy V. Gay, District 4, as a community liaison. And then my full-time job is at NTUA here in Tuba City. And I've been with Judy's office for 2 years as of March. And then I also serve on IPAC, and that's since August of last year. Thank you.
Thank you. And Commissioner Toya?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Hopi James and Zia Pueblo. I've been in Flagstaff for the past 6 years. I worked as the traditional resource navigator, but have not been able to execute my new position as I'm still working as a community health worker here at Pathways at the Coconino County Jail. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. And then Commissioner Kabitoni?
Hi, I'm Commissioner Kabatoni. My first name is Lauren. I am the philanthropy manager for the Flagstaff Family Food Center.
And then Commissioner Marks has written his in chat. I believe he's got a room full of people, students. So he said he's White Corn, Zuni Edgewater, born for those going home. And maternal grandparents are Red House and paternal grandparents are Salt. And he's from the Tonalea area. Thank you, Commissioner Marks. And he's also working as the advisor, I forget the name, with FUSD, with both Coconino and Flagstaff High School, serving about 1,000 students.
And a proud father of 3 sons.
Yes. Okay, Commissioner Marshall?
Joe Gamijenya have suja supile you. Hello, how are you? I'm Marianne Marshall, and I'm from the Havasupai tribe, people of the Blue Green Waters. I'm from Supai, Arizona, and I've lived here in Flagstaff for over 10 years. I'm sorry, I have something
That's
going
okay.
on. So we'll make it short and sweet. And I'm really grateful to be on this committee, and nice to meet all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Marshall. We wish you lots of getting well, blessings and thoughts. Also, okay, Commissioner Zavala?
Hi guys, I'm Commissioner Zavala. My first name is Mariah. I'm the Business Development Specialist at Mountain Mojo Group, and I wear a lot of different hats in town, serving on different boards that are focused on getting those underserved outdoors. So like Girls on the Run, Run Wild, and my own nonprofit where I take Indigenous youth rafting with Grand Canyon Youth. I'm really excited to be to continue being part of the Indigenous Commission and getting to work alongside Rose and some phenomenal people here. A little thing we're just going to throw out now. Daryl and I are thinking about throwing a block party this summer to bring out different people from the community to just kind of celebrate community in a safe way, share food, and promote other vendors. And so I'm always looking to work on new projects with other people and getting people connected in town. Thanks, Rose.
Awesome. Okay, back to you, Commissioner Toya.
Thank you, everyone. Really good to hear.
Oh.
And go ahead, Rose.
One more thought. I'm so sorry. Councilmember Matthews, would you please introduce yourself? You're muted. I can't hear you.
I took my camera off. I'm Lori Matthews. I'm a city council member for the city of Flagstaff, and I'm in my second year of a 4-year term so far. So I'm always happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I didn't mean to overlook you, and you're our very important council member liaison.
Yes, I forgot that part. Yes. Thank you.
Great, we can move forward to number 6, discussion items, A, Flagstaff camping ordinance. And looks like we have community youth members, Machias Marks, who will lead the presentation regarding the Flagstaff camping ordinance. The ordinance restricts camping on public property within the city limits. The presenter would like to provide information as it relates to unsheltered, unhoused individuals and requests discussion from the commission. CAT's organization will be available for the presentation. And thank you.
I can start, right? Yes, okay,
Yes.
cool. I was just waiting for that invitation. Okay, real quick. Yeah, everyone, 시에 토하는 날씨는 타파한 바시 징 아시 다시 제 알아 나 가이드네 다시 나는 시에 마카이 스마크시네 시. So real quick, for those of you who didn't catch what I said, greetings to you all beneath the heavenly stars. I am near the water, born for Edgewater. My mother's father is Red Bottoms people, and my father's father is the People's Coming Home. My name is Machias Marks, and the reason why I introduced myself that way is not only to give you guys a sense of who I am and where I come from, but as well as to acknowledge the elders and the youth of my community in this space. I know I've been working with cats for I think almost a year now at this point, helping our unsheltered relatives and being able to provide like the mutual aid and the services they need. A lot of the time when I'm working with them, like you're giving them clothes, you're giving them food, you're giving them a place to shower, to go to the bathroom, even water. That a lot of the time, like giving those services is just giving that time and space just to be community, just to be relatives to one another. Just like how I introduced myself by my clans, I am able to just sit with our unsheltered relatives, whether they be Navajo, Hopi, Apache, Havasupai. We had someone who is Tlingit up in Alaska, someone who is Nama from Mexico, or they're white, black, Asian, Pacific Islander. A lot of the time, that conversation, being able to just see them for as a human being, it means so much to them, because in this city, when they're walking around trying to figure out what to do, trying to get to the next day, whether they be struggling with their own pain, their own trauma, or rather it's their choice to live out in the world on the streets. Just to have that conversation in a cruel world where our policies are criminalizing our unsheltered relatives, so therefore it justifies whatever our citizens or our community members will vilify our relatives, be how would you say this in a kind way, be mean and hateful towards our relatives. Just having that conversation means the world to them. It gets them through to the next day, the next week, the next time you get to see them again, so that whenever I'm serving them, giving them the aid they need, whenever I say Hogone, it's not goodbye, I'll see you later again. It's we'll meet each other again. And that's a commitment right there. So when they are able to witness that from a cultural lens, from a community lens, from seeing them as relatives, like our clans from Navajo, Dene, taught us to show up and just listen and be there with them. That gives them that, I want to say like that drive, that passion. You can ask each and every one of them and it'll be different. It speaks to something different to all of them. And I'm sharing with you all of that, like that whole human aspect, being a human being, and as well as being alive, because what we're doing as a community, and I mean all of us, I'm including myself in this, is that we're making it harder on our relatives. We all have a responsibility to our community, and they see that and they know that. Yeah, when we have policies like the anti-camping ordinance out there, it makes our relatives feel unwelcome, feel like they're not a part of our community, feel like they're alienated from their own peoples that literally just look like them. And I just wanted to bring to you that human aspect, because I know we'll have the data, we'll have the numbers, but we'll never be able to have their stories, to have that, to be able to share what it means to be unsheltered and what it means to struggle here in the city of Flagstaff. Our own Indigenous relatives, even though that they come from the land, they come from the culture. I remember I was talking to a doctor who like went to Navajo Tech University, went to Haskell, and he was right there struggling with his own pains and traumas. And he's being called a dirty savage Indian who will always be a drunk. He's always getting approached by the police, and the police know him by name. So whenever he walks the streets, that's all he sees of himself. That's all he sees, because that's what how from where we come from as the Net people, it's how we see ourselves, because that's how our community, our relatives see us. So whenever he is able to come on to the CATS bus, the Community Assistance Teams of Flagstaff, this bus that goes around providing services and bringing those services to our relatives, he comes to the bus literally the whole time just to talk. I know he, because he's older than me, he always bosses me around and says, "You gotta go get me coffee." And he says it in Navajo, in Denebazon. And I'm still learning my people's language. And even though I wear all the culture and everything, yeah, he knows he can speak it, and at least I'll kind of understand. And the whole time he's just like, every time he comes on, he's always telling me, "You gotta make sure you give me the coffee, and as well as you gotta put that hot chocolate milk, hot chocolate mix into it, because that's the way I like it." Every time, like it's never like, "Hey, out there, hello, grandson." It's always like, first things first, give me that coffee. And I'm like, you know what? You do actually remind me of my grandfather. So I always call him Che. Like, Gadesha Che, because he is that to me. He steps into that role despite all of this hardship. there's that space because we have that culture, because we created that culture of, I would say, even further than acceptance, that culture of healing, that culture of not necessarily revitalizing, but learning to continue, learning to go on. So when it comes to like these policies and us as a community, like the anti-camping ordinance, we all have to decide what our role is in that. Is this who we really are? Do we want to have language, especially at a city level, that justifies all that hate and pain that our relatives go through on a daily, on an hourly basis? Or do we want to have those conversations where we're like, rather than it's their problem, they'll figure it out. What can we do as a community to create that space so that our relatives can be safe, so that our relatives can have that space to learn to heal, to learn to continue on, regardless of the trauma they went through? Because as I introduced myself to my grandma here, to my father who's here, to my relatives, all of you here, is that I'm near the water. This is my mom. Edgewater, this is my father. Ashi, my maternal grandfather. Nakaidanen, my paternal grandfather. And that doesn't mean just blood. That doesn't just mean someone who shares the last name as me. And that doesn't mean people that look like me. Because when I was young, when we were all young, they all took care of us so that when we get older, we would take care of them. I just wanted to extend that invitation and as well as that call to action to you all, because I know that's something we can do as community. I know that's something we do because we all have these powerful voices and these powerful experiences to shape this conversation. And I wanted to open in that discussion with all that. So with that being said, again, thank you for providing that space and as well as to present whatever my heart said and as well as to like whatever the holy ones will let me say. So again, thank you.
Thank you, Machias Ascoli. And I do want to comment on what you did say, in particular, those who choose that path. I support their choice and know that there are many aspects and many understandings of our people and what they choose in this life and their path. So just know that there are many of us on their side, and we are working with them in all kinds of ways and using our community resources and partners. So appreciate you and your comments and your work that you do for our community and the people. Thank you, Machias.
Are there any questions for Machias from the commission or comments?
I have a question, Machias. Is there any more support that you need from the commission? Or is it just kind of being beside you as you walk through this little journey and voicing for our unsheltered and just showing up when needed?
I really appreciate that. Like that's powerful. Council member Toya. I know the one thing you guys can do is go to city and challenge this anti-camping ordinance because it's harming our relatives. I know one of the nonprofit organizations I was able to intern under, Southwest Center for Equal Justice, when they did a well, how do you? So when they did a report on the police, on the number of arrests they did, and as well as the data that went into it, like their race, the reason behind it, what kind of charges they got, whether it was a felony or non-felony crime. Like over half of those arrests were our Indigenous relatives. And this data was collected at a random selection. So, and a lot of it was justified under the anti-camping ordinance. A lot of our relatives are trespassed from like Walmart and Target because of this negative stereotype we have perpetuated in our community. Our relatives are getting cut off from the resources, the necessities they need and are able to obtain, like we are at these stores, are now having to resort to other means of getting what they need, whether it be sustenance or whether it be clothes or even like camping gear, just to survive and endure the elements. So I ask all of you as a young person, as someone who's committed to serving the community, because that's how my elders taught me to be, to challenge this anti-camping ordinance because it's harming our relatives. It's keeping them perpetuating in this cycle of getting arrested by the police, being criminalized by their own community, being alienated from their own peoples. And that is what I ask of you.
Hey, Lori Matthews, council member, you have your hand up.
Thank you. Yes, I just wanted to make a comment, and Rose can pipe in here too. We just had our criminal justice, Coconino County Criminal Justice, I forgot the whole title, it's CJCC, where we meet once a month, and it's all the judges, sheriffs, jail personnel, attorneys, just everyone who touches our criminal justice system. And I was really, I don't have the information, but I'd like to send it to you, Machias, and anybody else interested. I was impressed that they are tracking arrest and length of time incarcerated until they're out on bail. We are discussing zero bail alternatives, zero cash bails, but the rate in which we are arresting our Indigenous community members is decreasing. They are doing a lot of work being very conscious of that and understanding. I know Rose has really been a great proponent in healing circles and healing rooms in the jails, but also just alternatives to arresting people, maybe if they're intoxicated or minor infractions, and not putting them through the system. And we're not 100% there yet, but I think we've made some really good progress in kind of righting that wrong that has been out there for so long, and just really criminalizing and demonizing our unsheltered individuals of all races and colors and creeds. And I think that's something we're sharing and seeing, that there is progress. It's not enough, but it's recognized and discussed every meeting. Did I leave anything out or misstate anything, Rose? I don't know if you're I don't remember if you were at the last meeting or not.
Yes, I was there. So under the CJCC, we do have an Indigenous Initiatives work group. And some of the work that is being done is trying to see what can change within the justice system. So there's a lot of people at the table now who really are listening. And I believe that the presentation that you talked about that Chief Musselman gave to the CJCC has been sent to Daryl. So he has it. And because he is part of the CJCC committee. So that's there. We also are, there's things that we're doing. We're having our traditional knowledge work group. We also have our which is the same as the cultural sensitivity aspect of working that in. We're also working to see if we can get an overall training for the CCC, or not the CCC, the CJCC, so many Cs, the CJCC Executive Committee, to go through a training that our Commissioner Daryl Marks has been through as well from Georgetown. And that is, we're hoping will build a framework. Once the Executive Committee has that training, we'll have a framework on how to scoot and develop traditional and cultural training underneath that for the CJCC group. And if that is really, if it really takes off within that group, which is a lot of leadership within the CJCC that is on that committee, then we can broaden it out. That's my vision, is a hope that we broaden that out to the rest of city and county. So that there's so that people are listening and looking through more of an Indigenous lens in those areas. So it'll take some time. Like, we're hoping that the Executive Committee will have their training in June. From our friend Chris, is it Bojo? But anyway, he's from Georgetown and he does a lot of DEI work and a lot of other work that has been really impactful. So that's coming down. So as far as the report is concerned, there have been some changes, and Dr. Travis Penn, who's also part of the Indigenous Circle of Flagstaff, is also on the executive committee. So he is going to be dealing a lot with the data and how that's going to come out. He now will be able to have some access to some things that I think we weren't able to, only because there's been a lot of upgrade in how to keep track of those, the data that's needed to tell the story. And so those are coming up and coming in time to come. So just to keep those things in mind, I think is important.
Thank you, Rose, for adding to that.
Thank you all. And is there any other questions or comments for Machias?
Machias, if you, this is, sorry, Machias, if you can just keep us posted, you can send me information for me to send out to the commission. If there's things that you need the commission to be aware of, that would be the best thing you can do, is to just send things to me and I can send it out. And if you want, or you can communicate it with Commissioner Marks and he can communicate it to me to send it out. So, you know, you have two avenues there that you can do. And I know that just you being a student, this is your senior year. We're so proud of you. And I'm just happy that you're sticking along this long. A lot of youth don't do that. And I'm really proud of you that you're still here doing the things that are important to you. Yeah.
And I'm sorry. I just wanted to add, Machias, I can't wait for you to run for city council. So I look forward to that, maybe after graduation, but it would be great to have your perspective and insight and your voice in some type of government capacity. So I encourage you to keep that in your mind.
Commissioner Marks?
Again, Machias, very proud of you. Good job. Well spoken. Thank you. And Councilwoman Matthews, thank you for that encouragement. Slow down. Make sure that he does it in the right way. But I'm excited for his future. Matthias, the question that I had was that in the past, you had presented and had spoken with folks to City Hall, and you had shared that there were relatives that you work with that wanted to communicate with the commission and with City Council. Where are we at with that? Is there anything that the commission should be doing or could do to make that conversation a little easier for them? Or is that something that you're paraphrasing their statements and presenting to us at some point?
Thank you, Commissioner Member Marks. And as well as thank you, Grandma, and then as well as thank you, Lord Matthews, for your words and as well as your praise. It's a blessing. It humbles me. Thank you. I will be transparent with you. The work that I was doing with the relatives. So we have to understand our unsheltered relatives are in a vulnerable place. An example would be that my dad and I are able to advocate for like Indigenous peoples and communities of color. We can challenge the city, we could challenge our own community, and we could go home and we could go back to our community. And there's a relatively safe space for us to just rest and be. Whenever our relatives, especially those who are unsheltered and living out in the streets, speak out, they're put in a really vulnerable place. Whenever they're able to speak about anything or organize around anything, when they go home, they don't have that safety. They don't have that security. So whenever they organize, it puts them in a very vulnerable space. With that being said, the relatives that I was showing up with at City Hall and as well as in city meetings, it's been months organizing around this, around our relatives. It may have felt like months to us, but to them it feels like years. It feels like a long time because they're having to face these adversities and hardships and challenges like the anti-camping ordinance, the lack of structures or organizations to provide mutual aid to our relatives on the street. And I could go on, but I wanted to emphasize is that our relatives have been disengaging from these conversations and these spaces that we've been struggling to provide for them to have these conversations with city and government, because to them it's not happening fast enough. To them there isn't progress happening. It's just more talk and less action. And I totally understand because our relatives are again put in those vulnerable spaces, and when we create that space for them to speak and they do speak, they're having to face all of those consequences of them speaking. They put their heart and soul into it, but when they don't have that safety and security, they're going to disengage because that's how they feel, that they're not a part of a change and that change isn't really happening. It's just more promises and talk rather than actions. For us, when we go home after having this meeting and talk, we get to go home and have that safe safety and security and like, yeah, we did something good. We're actually pushing for that change. But for our relatives, they're having to like, oh, wow, I had to, well, back on the streets, got to go to the shelter, got to go back to living in the van, got to continue running away from that anti-camping ordinance, because that's what we're talking about. It literally is affecting their lives. So I thank you again, Council Member Marks, for bringing that up, because I really do want to emphasize with that being all brought up that time matters.
Great. Thank you so much, Matthias. I appreciate you joining us today and presenting that to all of us, which is very valuable information that we should all know and be aware about. Okay, so can we move forward to item number 7? informational items, 2 from commission members, staff, and future agenda item requests. Anyone have anything to share at this time?
You can move on to adjournment.
We
Don't
will
hear
go
you.
moving on
Uh,
to number 8, adjournment.
Councilmember Matthews, did you want to say something? I just saw
No.
you.
I
saw
was
you.
just getting ready to say goodbye to everybody.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you all. Appreciate you. And I hope
Bye.
that you all had a great weekend over the past Easter weekend. And look
And
forward to next month.
Yes, and the time is 12:55.
Yes, we are adjourned at 12:55. Good day, y'all.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next month.